Well, today's episode is going to be a little bit interesting. As you know, we have AEW Dynamite with some interesting matches going on. We have once again another TNT Open Challenge. The AEW International titles on the line. Jericho faces Keith Lee, and we got many other more matches. But we also got, of course, the latest GLEAT show, G Pro Wrestling 49, at Corkin Hall. We have both championship matches taking place, the G Infinity Tag Team titles and the G Rex, but also a very interesting match for the Yoshi wrestlers. Unagi Sayaka fates the top Yoshi girl in GLEAT, Michiko Miyagi, but the stipulation was set: if Michiko Miyagi does not win against Unagi Sayaka, she will be leaving the promotion. But if Unagi doesn't win, she'll be out and never come back ever again. And of course, but before that, we have one of the events from the GCW collective, Jimmy Lloyd's D-Generation F, which I'm excited this one took place on the 31st of March at the UCC, and we'll see what happens then. But also, we got some news updates to tell what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events are taking place, what matches will be booked, the whole enchilada. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Jay, right here. So, let's begin with D Generation F for GCW, or should I say Jimmy Lloyd's D Generation F, my bad. This one took place at the UCC on March 31st during the collective at WrestleMania week. Our opening match, as always, we always open up with a scramble match. We have Teriyaki versus Lucas Riley versus Brogan Finley versus ABM versus Man Like DeReese versus Bobby Flacco versus Midas Creed. Now, I don't need to tell you how these matches can go in Scrabble match. Anything can go. There's always the opportunities where some person will try to take the advantage of a wrestler taken down for someone else's credit. But nonetheless, it was a pretty good match. In this case, it was, of course, a leaping avalanche DDT by Teriyaki onto ABM to pick up the win. I thought that was pretty amazing. So it was a pretty good one. Next up, we got Titus Alexander taking on Cole Radrick. Now, as you know, Titus Alexander, he considers himself the franchise. Basically, he takes on the guy who is from Rat Shit Mountain, basically. Cole Radrick, you know, he's a tough SOB. So I wouldn't pass that Alexander would try to do everything in his power to win. But it was, of course, his finisher that helped him put away Titus Alexander with the 1, 2, 3, adios. Next up, we got Hunter Drake taking on Jad Cartwheel. I thought this match was pretty interesting. I mean, those who don't know who Hunter Blake is, he's from Deep South, from pro wrestling in Alabama. Um, Amazing kid. So, but he faces a guy who we have seen what he can do in the ring. Not to mention doing a lot of backflips, some crazy stuff. But Jack Cartwheel put up a hell of a match, and he walked away with the win when he applied the shooting star press. 1, 2, 3. Good night. Next up, we got the ladies taking the stage. We got Sandra Moon taking on Kenzie Page. This was a very interesting match. I mean, we've seen Kenzie Page, what she can do. She has evolved a whole lot since she's been going with NWA, changing into this badass girl that will do whatever it takes to win. But however, it did not go exactly her way with Sandra. I mean, it was of course a gut wrench uh, sit down driver. I thought that was amazing how she picked up the win. So basically, Sandra Moon walked away with the W. Next up, we have uh, Bodie Young Prodigy taking on Jimmy Lloyd. You can guess that Jimmy Lloyd wasn't going to take crap from this young man, but nonetheless, Jimmy Lloyd, this is his show. He walked away with the win when he applied a package pile driver, putting away Prodigy, and it was over. Next up, we got Starboy Charlie taking on Alec Price. Now, this was a really good match because Starboy Charlie and Alec Price are two of the most rising wrestlers in the independents, especially in GCW or JCW, wherever you see them. But nonetheless, it was a pretty amazing match. I would have assumed in the back of my head that Alec Price was going to walk away. No, it was a bit of a crossface by Starboy Charlie to Price to pick up the win. I was surprised that that ended in that way, but nonetheless, it was good. Next up, we have Bobby Orlando taking on Sawyer Wreck. I thought it was funny because Bobby Sawyer had this little stuffed little animal called Bobby Jr., but Sawyer Wreck tossed him somewhere, and then in the end, he actually put Orlando with a double choke slam, with a two-hand choke slam on the door, pin him 1, 2, 3, and she walks away with Bobby Jr. Now, our main event is a four-way uh, tag team match. Team number one, we have the Wasted Youth, Dylan McKay and Marcus Mathers taking on these guys coming all the way from across the Atlantic. Danny Block, Joe Lando, known as SPF. They take on Bang Bros, August Mathers and Davey Bang. And then finally, the Best Bros, May Shruga and Balinaki. I was waiting for this match for a while since this was announced. I thought it was pretty good. I loved the everything that this match was. Now you probably would, some of you Best Bro fans would have thought they would have walked away with this one. No, but it was, of course, the teamwork between Dylan McKay and Marcus Mathers that helped them pick up a good win again with a combination of shooting star press and the 450 onto Lando, and it was over right there. So Wasted Youth walked out as the victors. So I think that's pretty much it right now. What we have with GCW, with Jimmy Lloyd's D Generation F. I believe it's time for GLEAT. Okay, so let's talk about GLEAT with G Pro Wrestling version 49. I believe this one's called the Invader. Reason behind it's called the Invader was because we were invaded by Black Generation, the main unit out of Mexico led by Black Flamita and several other his friends. Now, our opening match, we have all four members of 60 Seconds, OG Shiba, Keiji Sato, Jun Tonsho, and Tetsu Izushi taking on the members of Black Generation consistent of Yutani, Action Jackson, Emperado Azteca, and um, Elemental. I thought this match was pretty good. It showed exactly who Black Generation is now. If you guys aren't familiarized with the original Black Generation, the Black Generation is a unit based out of Mexico. That's how the name Black Generation International first started because this particular unit, BGI, consistent mostly with Kato, Ishida, and several others. But um, it's great to see what these guys can do. But it was a bit of a torture rack with a combination of a driver by Azteca onto Sato to give them the victory. Next up, we got Aise Onizuka and Soma Watanabe taking on the members of Black Generation International. We're talking about Kotaro Suzuki and Hartley Jackson. You probably can guess that this was a very tough match for Onizuka and he's Wanabe. I mean, Wanabe is a talented wrestler, but it was just too much. Apparently, Onizuka ended up on the wrong side of a pile driver by Harley Jackson, giving them the win. Now, our next match, I believe we have is, well, our next two matches are part of the Lidet UWF title tournament semifinals. Now, those who don't know, the UWF is like a kind of like a mixture of MMA and martial arts. You have 5 rope breaks. You either win by submission or knockout or pinfall. Um, we have 2 matches that were involved in the semifinals. Our first match is Yu Isuka taking on Takanori Ito. I thought this match was pretty good. Ito is one of those wrestlers that I have noticed he's been very good, but however, the match ended by ref's discretion. Isuka couldn't go any further, so he goes into the finals. In the next match involving that same tournament of semifinals, we have Hikaru Sato versus Shinya Aoki. Now, those who aren't familiar with Hikaru Sato, he has a background in martial arts and all this other stuff. He even runs his own promotion called Hard Fit. Um, he's pretty good, but however, he faces a guy who has far more better training, Aoki. I thought this match was pretty good, but Aoki won by knockout. But Ito was watching this match very closely to see who was going to walk out, so he now knows he has to prepare for himself for someone like Aoki to pick up the win, so to pick up the next final match. So we'll see what happens then. Our next match we got Kaz Hayashi teaming up with El Lindaman, Minoru Tanaka, and Violento Jack taking on the members of Bulk Orchestra, consistent of um, Kazuma Sakamoto, Galeno Del Mal, who coming back from Mexico, Quiet Storm, and of course the leader, Ruchi Kawakami, who we haven't seen for quite some time. I'm going to presume that he was out on injury, but it's great to see him. He hasn't changed a bit from the last time I saw him, but nonetheless, the match was pretty good. It was very interesting, but however, it was a German suplex by El Lindemann to Kawakami that picked up the win, and I don't think he expected as the returning leader that would come back to be pinned like that. I thought it was great, but nonetheless, it was good. Now, this is the match I was mostly waiting for, and I will review this on the Unagi Sayaka watch, just to let you guys know. We have Unagi Sayaka taking on Michiko Miyagi, who is the top Yoshi girl in GLEAT. Now, since her arrival into the promotion, she wanted to assess Michiko. Now, she has been in a match with Yukari Hosokawa, and of course, in a tag match with both Michiko and Hosokawa, where she teams up with Itsuki Aoki. Nonetheless, this was a match that we were all expecting. But however, Michiko actually posted herself in a position, nothing similar like Waka. If she says that if she does not win her match against Unagi, then she will be banished from GLEAT. However, if Unagi loses, then she'll do the same thing. Basically, she'll be banished as well. But the match is hard hitting. I mean, Michiko took the fight right outside the match, like desperately tried to put her away in every way possible. You probably would have assumed that Michiko would have won, but however, it was Unagi with the standing, what was it? A standing leg drop onto Michiko to pick up the win. But however, I don't know exactly what the promo is, but it was very heartful emotion. But one person was affected by this match over the loss, and that is Hosokawa. She did not want Michiko Miyaki to go, but it was more like a deal's a deal. I lost. I have to go. But she asked Unagi for one thing in return, one thing to do is to look after her Hosokawa. I know Nagi will be a perfect senior to Hosokawa, and it kind of hurts her to see that. But I'm sure for her, Unagi, who's seen wrestlers like Hosokawa, I'm assuming because I look at the ones that Unagi has teamed up with, like AI Hosen, AOI, and now Hosokawa, I think all of them reminded her of one particular person, and that person is none other than Waka, and she probably can see that in them. I'm sure she'll do the best in her ability to help them succeed, but we'll see how that goes on the next time. I don't know how, but even GLEAT posted out on Twitter, like saying, do they think this is a joke or not? We don't know, but we'll see what happens in the near future with Michiko Miyagi. Our next match is one of 2 title matches. We have the G-Rex Infinity team titles. The members of Black Generation, consisting of El Benito and Flamita, they take on the champs Bulk Orchestra, Czech Shimatani, and Hayato Tamura. I thought this match was pretty good, but I like the how things were becoming chaotic with the teamwork and cohesiveness with Black Generation. But however, desperately that Hayato and Shimatani would do whatever it takes, try to pick up a win as much as possible. But luckily for them, there was an opening for by Tamura when he applied a muscle buster onto who was it? Onto Benito, giving them the win. But in the post match comments, Flamita said that this between them, between Benito and Flamita against Tamura and Shimatani, is far, far from over. Now our next match is our main event. It's the G-Rex Top Championship. T-Hawk, the challenger, versus Kaito Ishida. Now these two guys are familiarized with each other. If you guys remember, T-Hawk was part of the Dragon Gate promotion for a long time ago, and now Ishida's going to teach T-Hawk a lesson. Much of this match was under the control of Kaito Ishida, trying to ensure he put him away in every way possible. But however, it was of course T-Hawk who was able to overcome everything that Ishida tried on him. Basically, he would do whatever it takes to win. But in the end, it was a pinfall by T-Hawk that picked up the win. I thought it was pretty good. So he becomes our new G-Rex champion and our third. And also for this, he is the second member of Strong Hearts that actually it becomes a champion. So basically, he won this. The first person that ever got won this was El Lindaman, who's also a member of Strong Hearts. So it's kind of ironic that he brought it back home to Strong Hearts. So I'm very happy for T-Hawk. Can't wait to see the next show. But for now, let's just end it right here with this one and move on with AEW Dynamite. Okay, our final review is AEW Dynamite, where we have Darby Allin taking on Swerve Strickland. Now, if you guys remember last week, Swerve comes out right after Darby's match, but he was viciously attacked by Brian Cage, and this was a result of unfinished business. I have to say, this was a much brutal match. I mean, Darby Allin was taking a hell of a beating by Swerve. Now, Swerve is very crafted that he will do whatever it takes to pick up the win. But in the end, it was, of course, Darby Allin with the Last Supper that put away Swerve Strickland. But however, the party didn't end there. As soon as the match was over, we did see, of course, MJF, as always, wanted to insult him and all this, calling Sting his dad and all this other stuff. Of course, Darby Allin told him, that he will always be the same person that he was back in the day before coming to AEW, and I think that sets the whole thing. And of course, Sting comes out telling him that you think that he's like my son. No, I'm a cheerleader, and he brought up Cody's name. So basically, he does tell him that Darby will walk out as the new AEW World Champion. So we will see when that day comes. Now, our next match is the TNT title in an open challenge. Hobbs takes on, what's his name? Silas Young. But this match ended, of course, as always, with Powerhouse Hobbs winning. However, when they were trying to take out Silas Young, Wardlow shows up out of the blue, coming for vengeance against, of course, Hobbs, QT, and everybody from the QTV. He destroys the card that QT gave Hobbs as a gift, destroyed it badly. He used even a forklift to do the job as well. But after that, he goes into the ring. He hashes it out with Powerhouse Hobbs. They were trying to manage to separate them, but that no good for nothing. Aaron Solo got caught, and he got powerbombed by Wardlow right through the table, sending a direct message to Hobbs. I'm sure the QT did not expect this was going to happen, but like they always say, karma's a bitch. Now, we don't know what's the significance about Bullet Club, especially what we saw the arrival of the Switchblade. Now, many people question, is he still a member? Now, according to David Finlay, he's saying that he is not. He has no permission to use the name. But he keeps calling them the Bang Club, the Bullet Club Gold, however he calls it. So we don't know for sure if this is what exactly this is about. With, of course, seeing um, this kind of thing, but we'll find out. Now, our next match we have is the AEW International Championship. Buddy Matthews taking on Orange Cassidy. I have to say, this match was another brutal match, but Buddy Matthews used his title onto Orange Cassidy to block off the Orange Punch. But the one thing was clear: is the hand 100%? The answer to that is no. Basically, Buddy Matthews used that as a way to try to disorient Orange Cassidy as much as possible. Now you think, but we know how resilient and relentless Orange Cassidy can be because of the way he is. But when he knew that things did not go his way, Orange Cassidy resorted to one final act, which was one of his moves that he rarely uses, and of course, Excalibur and Taz can confirm it: the mousetrap, which is similar to the Kishikase that Saki Kashima uses. So that helped them to win. But the obvious question is this over between the House of Black, or will Brody King step up to be the next person to dethrone Orange Cassidy? We will find out. Now, another video package. This one is coming from Christian Cage and Luchasaurus. We don't know what's the significance, but this is what they have to say. Some things have changed. Now, we don't know what he meant by that, but we'll get to it at some point. Now, we do get a very interesting interview with with Orange Cassidy and Best Friends. Now, Best Friends did claim that Orange Cassidy hand is okay, but they eventually called out Aussie Open, and they're asking, why not put your IWGP tag team titles on the line in Rampage? So it's gonna happen. I'm looking forward to that. Now, Ethan Page, as you know, last time he got whacked in the head by Matt Hardy, and he wanted answers, so Hardy and Isaiah Cassidy gave them. He's saying that he manipulated him in all of this. Now, I knew Matt Hardy was up to no good for what he was doing. He was up to something. And eventually he was kissing Ethan Page's ass throughout the entire time. So if you guys remember, he started trying to kiss his ass in many ways possible. Somehow Matt Hardy weaseled his way through on this one, but however, he made Ethan Page sign a contract without reading it, specifically that there's going to be a match between him and Ethan Page, where if Matt Hardy wins, the Private Party and Matt will be no longer part of the whole firm. But apparently, out of nowhere, the Big Bill and Lee Moriarty showed up to give a helping hand. But and then of course Hook tries to do everything's power, but just too much for him to handle on his own. And then the shocking surprise, Jeff Hardy returns as always. I thought this was really great to see. Jeff Hardy back. He applied the twist of fate on Lee Moriarty and, of course, the Swanton Bomb. So this was really fun to see. So I really enjoyed it. Now, we know what happened to the Elite, more specifically Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. They were dealing with the insults by the Blackpool Combat Club, so they had Kenny gave a direct message. So this war between them is far, far from over. Now our next match is, of course, the Blackpool Combat Club and taking on anybody who's associated with the Elite, and that includes Brandon Cutler and Michael Nakasawa. I have to say Michael Nakasawa tried to hold on as much as possible, but the Blackpool Combat Club was just too much. In the end, the ref made the only decision he thought he could do, is called it. But however, they decided to continue with the beatdown on Nakasawa and Cutler. But Kenny shows up, gets the distraction of Jon Moxley. Face and everybody else were looking at him, unaware that the Young Bucks were right behind him, getting ready to, they gave both Yuta and Castagnoli super kicks. But right in the end, Kenny hasn't forgotten what Jon Moxley did. And then he got him all, but later Kenny was about to whack Moxley with the toolbox, but Matt Jackson had a much better idea. So he gave him a screwdriver to stab him with. but he was pulled out of the way at the last second by Yuta. So this war between the Elite and BBC is far from over. Now, our next interview we have is, of course, Swerve with Brian Cage and Prince Nana. So it appears that he has some saying that he's going to give this one to Darby Allin because he made him. However, he said he still has some unfinished business. He needed to take the obvious question does tell, what exactly is the unfinished business? Well, we'll find out. Our next match, we have Sky Blue and Riho teaming up to take on the Outcast, consistent of Ruby Soho and Tony Storm. But you know, in the X Factor of this type of match, Saraya is the X Factor, who is the third person outside the ring when the referee is not in looking. However, this match was exactly what happened. I mean, Riho and Sky Blue put up a hell of a fight, tried to hold on much as possible in the hands, of course, of Storm and Ruby Soho, but in the end, it was Tony Storm with the Storm Zero onto Sky Blue, giving them win. But Riho wasn't going to stop there. She continues to fight no matter what. But apparently, she got the L spray painted on her and then triple power bomb. But Jamie Hayter comes out to deal with the Outcast, but it was just too much for Jamie Hayter to deal with. And here comes Britt Baker with the helping hand. So this is going to be interesting. So this feud, but Britt Baker was this close in stomping Saraya. But luckily, the other members of the Outcast saved the day, and that's how it is. Now, our next match is Chris Jericho versus Keith Lee. Now, Chris Jericho hasn't forgotten this match came about a week ago because Chris Jericho could not let go of the fact that his protege Daniel Garcia lost to Adam Cole, and he felt that Adam Cole in this, but Keith Lee, a man who Adam Cole in the past has wrestled him time and time again, and he respects him dearly, knowing that he is a formidable foe. But Jericho does not respect wrestlers who are like Keith Lee and Adam Cole. But this match was so interesting. Basically, Jericho tried to think that he can take on a big man, but dude, this match was so insane. But when things were going exactly with Keith Lee's way, Garcia distracted the ref, but all of a sudden, a masked guy shows up and whacks Keith Lee, and Jericho makes the pinfall. 1, 2, 3 goes in his favor. But it turns out this masked individual is none other than Swerve. So basically, he has some unfinished business. But when things were going exactly Jericho's way, celebrating the fact he beat a guy like Keith Lee, once again, the party was ruined by Adam Cole, who decided to come out to check on Keith Lee. I see this is going to be an interesting feud. Like, this is going to be one of those feuds where, like, holy cow, we're going to talk about this as much as possible. And I think that's going to tell us a whole lot. So I'm looking forward to that. So we don't know when will that happen. Some people think that this match between both Lee and between Adam Cole and Jericho may take place at Double or Nothing. But it's only just talk. We'll just wait and see when it progresses the storyline even further and further as we step into that. So I think that's pretty much it. So we'll see more of AEW on Rampage on Friday. But at the moment, let's move on with our lasting news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news update. So this is what we have. You may have heard the biggest news ever coming in Japan. This happened around the same time with all three promotions on our social media. We're talking about New Japan, All Japan Pro Wrestling Noah. This is huge. All three companies will be working together in a big event called All Together Again. And this is going to take place on June 9th. And this will be live on the New Japan On Demand. Now, some of you may question, has New Japan and All Japan ever worked together cohesively, all three of them at the same time? I mean, look, we did had, what was it? Back in January and last year as well, where New Japan and Pro Wrestling Noah collided, with series of matches. We know that All Japan and Pro Wrestling Noah just had a big event. All Japan and New Japan were involved in an event. I don't remember when, but it's interesting now all three promotions are together in this one. So I have to say this is going to be interesting. So there's no indications. We know that Kato Kiyomiya, Kento Kiyahara, and uh, Hiroshi Tanahashi spoke in the press conference. So I haven't seen that yet, but this is good news for all Japanese wrestling fans, especially those here in the States. Uh, as you know, Miyu Yamashita is still here in the US. Those who know, it was announced by Glory Pro for the Go for Broke event taking place on the 21st of May. She'll be facing Tootie Lynn. And then, of course, but before that, she will be in Texas on the 11th of May for the New Texas Pro Wrestling for the Super Texas Contender Series, where she faces Hyan, who is the current Texas Women's Champion. So that's going to be interesting. Fightful Selects reports that CM Punk wants to return to AEW and he's willing to work with the Elite. Now, we know we haven't spoken a whole lot. I know people are questioning what's going to happen with CM Punk. Is he going to be let go or is he that? I'm sure Punk will try to figure something out to work together. We know that recently were talks between both CM Punk and Kenny tried to bury the hatchet over what happened months ago, if you guys remember, at All Out. So we'll see what happens then. If you guys remember Wesley Blake, who was a member of the Forgotten Sons, um, basically it was announced that he will be returning to WWE, but not as a wrestler, but as a coach at the Performance Center training new wrestlers. So congratulations on your new job, Wesley. But if you guys remember, Wesley recently lost his wife. Now he's a single father, a widower, raising kids. I say him not going on the road being a wrestler is a good thing. Probably he's doing this just to be closer to his kids, and I don't blame him for that. But he wants to do what's best for them, and I totally respect that. Now, our last thing is the GCW updates for the I Can Feel My Face event on the 14th of April. No, 15th of April, we're going to have Calvin Tankman taking on the Iron Demon, Shane Mercer. That's going to be a banger of a match. And then, of course, finally, for the Into the Light event on the 21st of April, we're going to have Matt Cardona teaming up with Steph Delanders taking on Los Macizos. That's going to be a brutal match. I can guarantee you that. So I think that's pretty much it right now for our news updates. So let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we have Impact Wrestling, I believe, and Ring of Honor. Can't wait to see that. Now, I still haven't reviewed a lot of the GCW collective stuff. I will get to those as soon as possible. But however, because of my day job, it may put me back just a little bit. But for now, we'll just go what we got right now at the moment. So be patient with me. For now, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.